So the next area of suggested chapter goals are around engineering outreach excellence. And this relates to the work of the Engineers of Tomorrow venture in EWB, which is led by Erica Lee Garcia and Alan Ham. And basically, through engineering outreach excellence, what the initiative is looking to do is change perceptions and enrollment in engineering. So who's going into engineering, how diverse a group is going into it, and how is the general public and subsets of the general public perceiving engineering, and how is even the engineering profession perceiving itself. A big component that has recently come up through the work of the Engineering Change Lab is also the opportunity to more broadly champion technological literacy through our outreach work. And so the outreach is to youth and general public, and a big key that the Engineers of Tomorrow team is taking is to leverage networks, to actually work with other organizations to knit that coherence and convergence that we've been talking about and build overall momentum in the system. So you would have seen these goals in your chapter planning process, and basically from a contribute, own, lead perspective, what we're talking about is how many people you're reaching both deeply and broadly with high quality outreach, and setting a tone of high quality outreach as you're doing it. So as you move up, you're going from more people reached deeply and broadly, and you're also going towards greater sort of leveraging of best practices and contributing to best practices and networking with other organizations. So we've come up with these targets of, at the lead level, 1,000 people deeply and 10,000 people broadly, by looking at what's been working in some of the areas that have been doing a lot more outreach and thinking what's a reasonable, ambitious goal for chapters. And we've left it somewhat open for you to be creative in doing this. So to reach people broadly, you could look at getting on TV, you could look at getting into newspapers. To reach people deeply, you could either deliver sessions yourself directly, or you could potentially partner with another organization that's already running large convening events and inject some of the core messaging and help raise the bar of the outreach with those different organizations. So the Engineers of Tomorrow team will be working with you to help kind of flesh out these different goals and to think about how you can actually achieve these sorts of numbers, which of course are just a metric. Really what's beneath them is the concept of doing high quality outreach and reaching a lot of people with it. So what is possible with all of this is basically in Ontario, the Engineers of Tomorrow team has done some great work with some core programs working with the Professional Engineers of Ontario, OSPE, the Ontario Society of Professional Engineers, and even the OSET, which is the Technologist Organization in Ontario. And Engineers of Tomorrow, by leveraging the EWB communities in Ontario, has actually managed to build a reputation for engineering outreach excellence in Ontario that has led to contracts to help run National Engineering Month, to help run the Engineers in Residence program in Ontario. With those contracts in place, Engineers of Tomorrow can put in place paid staff that help us take the engineering outreach in Ontario to the next level. So if you're in a province other than Ontario, achieving these sorts of numbers and this sort of scale will help to pave the way for similar relationships to happen in other provinces, so that you can work with Engineers of Tomorrow to start to form formal relationships with the regulator in your province and other key bodies, so that we can actually start to do this work on a more sustainable level with paid staff. If you're in Ontario, the challenge, now that we've already kind of reached the plateau of having those relationships and some core funding in place, is to dream about what's next. Where do we go and kind of broaden and build on that base to go even farther with promoting amazing engineering outreach that knits together community and activates a more sort of an outreach effort that's more driven by community and by the professionals themselves, as opposed to only being limited by paid staff of a few organizations.